Part 118. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1174. An endlessly huge flying battleship that makes people's eyes dull at first glance, just like that small planet, flying in the dark universe. Worth your collection. Within the body of the star, there was a behemoth that reached 5 kilometers in size, crouching inside the ship with an indifferent expression. His huge body made the 30-kilometer giant ship he was in seem less huge. The strong men and soldiers serving around him were like little ants, almost looking up to him. How long will it take to reach the genius star? Suddenly, he raised his head and asked the half-star powerhouse in front of him. Sir, this is already the fastest speed of our ship. It will take almost half a day to reach the genius star, the half-star creature replied respectfully. Yes, the giant creature nodded, without showing any emotion or anger, and knelt down again to wait. At this level, he no longer suffers from emotional fluctuations over trivial matters. But what is clear is that he has too many feelings for the evolved beast. If it is really too late to catch up this time, he will definitely kill all the biological subordinates in the entire battleship. There is no need to doubt his strength and authority, because he is a star. And it's not an ordinary star, it's a terrifying powerhouse who has reached the middle stage of a star. He even had a fight with Jia Yan before, almost forcing Jia Yan to his death. His name is Huoku. This huge battleship is still flying forward, but its speed cannot reach the fastest battleship level due to its huge body. Whether it can reach the genius star in time is still unknown. On the genius star side, it seems that there is a dull fluctuation that is shrouding everywhere this night, leaving countless venerable level geniuses confused. In the entire genius star, because the battle is over, tomorrow is the time to distribute the tickets in public and then send away 1,000 geniuses, so the people from the outside can also go to the genius star. At this time, no genius will be affected by them. The entire genius the battlefield was filled with either sadness or excitement. But the people on the genius star and the major media people are also vaguely aware of the heaviness that permeates the space. What's going on? We feel something is wrong on this planet. Is it an illusion? I feel it too. Each of the strong men who had reached a certain level of strength felt a sense of uneasiness, and the smarter ones simply gave up on their affairs on the genius star and left outside the star. The experts who had reached the semi-star level were all extremely shocked, because they could detect that the ones emitting the terrifying aura were the pseudo-star level experts on this planet. The 5 pseudo-star powerhouses released their pressure one by one, and the place where they suppressed them was the genius courtyard somewhere. Oh, sure enough, they have noticed me. In that courtyard, Jia Yan felt the 5 terrifying forces suppressing him, and his eyes were solemn and filled with fighting spirit. But the other party seemed to be just suppressing him and had no intention of taking action directly. Jia Yan thought for a while and realized that he couldn't do anything with these 5 pseudo-stars anyway, so he just followed the other party's pressure and did not resist. However, the brainwave power of the 5 pseudo-star level experts was unable to truly suppress him. Instead, when it reached a distance of 1 meter from Jia Yan's body, it completely froze and was unable to take an inch further. On this planet, in a luxurious mansion, a 1-kilometer-sized creature was quietly hovering inside the mansion. Terrifying pressure was released within his body, but not long after, a look of horror flashed across the creature's eyes. This Bai Wangfu has really concealed his great strength. The 5 of us tried to suppress him, but we couldn't completely subdue him. It is indeed the existence that Master Huoku wants us to contain, but since it is the person that Master Huoku wants to deal with personally, we will naturally control it with all our strength. You can't escape. A glint flashed in his eyes, and then he continued to use his power. The entire originally prosperous genius star, for some reason, slowly and privately received the information one by one. Except for a group of bewildered genius lords, many creatures slowly began to withdraw from the star. Afterwards, a group of geniuses who did not get the tickets also silently withdrew to the outside world. Even the group of Danka and other venerables who came next to Jia Yan slowly backed away in silence. Danka wanted to go to Jia Yan to say hello, but a half-star who came with him stopped him with a sudden change in his demeanor, so he gave up. They didn't know at all that the earth-shattering momentum that everyone could feel on this genius star was aimed at the room of His Excellency Bai Wangfu that he was going to. What they didn't even know was that they had always thought it was the highly talented Bai Arifu turned out to be an existence far beyond their imagination. Even this existence was about to start a battle that would make their eyes pop out. The entire world was in turmoil because of the pressure unleashed by 5 pseudo-stars and one strong man who did not reach the pseudo-star level, but was no less powerful. In the sky, there are countless spectators and contestants. Except for those who won 1,000 tickets and refused to give up, almost all living creatures came to this place not far from the genius star to silently observe the things on the genius star. Variety. Overnight, extremely terrifying pressure slowly began to gather within the entire towering star. If there were any existences below the venerable level surviving there, they would have been suppressed by the huge pressure to the point where they could hardly move. But just like this, the genius sages who reluctantly stayed to wait for their tickets were also under the pressure of 5 pseudo-stars. Almost everyone looked depressed, and even 1 or 2 who were weak in strength almost fainted. Humph! When a pseudo-star level powerhouse saw this scene, he couldn't help but stop, at least he did not continue to increase his suppression force. The other 4 pseudo-stars also stopped while hesitating, and their brainwave power did not increase anymore. After all, in addition to controlling the Venerable One, there are 1,000 other geniuses who are the most outstanding children of their generation. If they are harmed, it will be a blow to the entire biochemical star field. It seemed that Jia Yan, who was at the center of the pressure, had expected this scene. At this moment, the pressure relaxed slightly. He didn't care about these 5 guys, but focused on assimilating the 3 mediation stones. How can that guy keep his composure? Could it be that he has really been suppressed by our power and is unable to move? That should be the case. Anyway, when we observe his brainwave power level, it should still belong to the Venerable. A Venerable can sustain for so long under the brainwave power of our 5 pseudo-star levels, which is considered reverse. He is the ultimate monster, and it is normal that he cannot move now. That's right, under the pressure of the 5 of us, even the top genius Venerable may have been unable to hold on for a long time. He has been able to persist until now, which is already a monster performance that exceeds the top genius. Unfortunately, Mr. Huoka wants to take him down, otherwise I will spare my talent and want to keep him alive. Several pseudo-stars were unable to use their brainwave power to break through Jia Yan's brainwave power defense. They could not see Jia Yan's current state, so it was guessed that he was gritting his teeth and struggling to resist their pressure. Thinking of this, they didn't care so much. They would suppress the other party so that they wouldn't run away. They would wait until Master Huoka came over to talk about everything. But they didn't know that Jia Yan was not as strenuous as they imagined, and even the power of his brainwaves quickly assimilated the biochemical mediation stones. Then the 3 mediation stones he mastered were almost completely snow white at this time. As long as it reaches the completely white level, the biochemical mediation stone will be completely assimilated and can be swallowed by the strong to strengthen the genes in one's body. Hurry up, they didn't make a move, they were obviously waiting for something, and in this star field, I can think of only one person they are waiting for. Live channel. Thinking of that star-level powerhouse with unfathomable strength, even if it was Jia Yan, his whole body trembled slightly. Even though he still had 2/5 of his diluted essence and blood, the ball that faced Huo Chu's blow had to use up 3/5 of his essence and blood before he could escape with his life. If he met the opponent in person, he would have to look for him. Shuyuan he didn't think that 2/5 of the essence and blood had any effect. So he was speeding up the biochemical mediation stone. But obviously, the ticket process of Genius Battlefield is faster than the speed of him assimilating the mediation stone. Buzz. When Jia Yan is still working hard. An extremely large, extremely gorgeous, and extremely weird-looking aircraft seemed to be born out of the void. It didn't look very fast, but the way it appeared was too weird. When it came, it almost hit a battleship that was watching the Genius Star. Huh? Ah, it's a super ship that picks up geniuses. The battleship quickly moved out of the way. You must know that blocking the super ship is not only a serious crime in the biochemical star field, but also in any surrounding star field. After all, the Genius Battlefield cultivates geniuses for the surrounding star fields. Even a star-level powerhouse in a star field would not be willing to offend such a super ship that transports geniuses. Otherwise, it would offend more than 100 stars in the Genius Battlefield. Being a super strong person is a trivial matter. In the future, if the Genius Battlefield is not willing to cultivate geniuses for that star field, then it is a top priority that affects the future of the entire star field. The overall length of the supership is 50 kilometers, which can be said to be the largest aircraft Jia Yan has seen since his debut. It was like an asteroid, flying to the vicinity of the Genius Star, and coincidentally, on that Genius Star, there was an artificial metal mountain that was much larger than imagined. This mountain peak is dozens of kilometers high, like an unimaginable metal buckle protruding from the surface of the planet. The supership came to the top of the metal buckle, lightly pressed it, and buckled into the metal buckle. This year's 1,000 biochemical starfield geniuses, please come on board. When the supership tightened the metal buckle, a huge brainwave power emitted from the supership. Supporting genuine products is quality. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1175. As a strong man from the Genius Battlefield expatriate, Dingfu has absolute self-confidence and pride in the outside world. He is a genius in the battlefield. Humph. There was an accident in this biochemical star field again because of the genius ship ticket battle. I remember that the last time an accident happened in this star field, right? There is another one in so many hundreds of years. It seems that after I go back, I will please tell the superiors carefully whether the admission quota for the biochemical star field should be reduced. As a strong person, he can naturally clearly feel the unexpected situation of the genius star under his feet, but Dingfu has no idea of interacting with him. For him, this is just an outing mission. As a high-level gifted genius, he has reached the pinnacle of semi-star level. What he wants now is to end his current mission early and return to his powerful force in the central star area of the genius battlefield to advance to the star level. Prepare. The 5 pseudo-star level experts below did not dare to offend Dingfu too much. Although they considered themselves to be stronger than Dingfu, in front of such an envoy who could influence the future of the entire biochemical star field, there was no trace of their predecessors. Psychology. Listen to my order, except for Bai Wangfu, the rest of the geniuses can board the ship. A pseudo-stellar powerhouse said this to the venerable geniuses around him who could hardly stand the power of the powerhouse. Yes. Okay, we'll meet you adults by fate. A group of biochemical starfield venerable geniuses, one by one, like frightened little fish, quickly entered the supership as if they had been granted amnesty. The passage they entered was very strange. It was just under the pipe where the 30-kilometer giant ship docked with the Genius Star. There is a huge gap there. After they enter, the cameras in the entire gap will be aimed at them. Originally, they would be surrounded by people and media who came to see them off. But now that this has happened across the entire planet, the media and people have also, it would be impossible to come in. Let's go, we don't know what will happen in the talented star today. Yeah, I didn't expect that Bai Wangfu would actually have a problem. Otherwise, why would those pseudo-star level adults control Bai Wangfu? No matter what problem he has, he is definitely dead. You must know that he has been tested by more advanced scientific instruments than hundreds of years ago, which means that he is truly a venerable, no matter how powerful his talent is. Can you still pull out any tricks in front of 5 pseudo-stellar level experts? Yes, he is dead. One genius after another quickly entered the passage, and then followed the passage to enter the detection system of the supership. After passing the verification, they entered the huge supership. This supership is not a product of the biochemical star territory, and of course it is not a product of the Genius War territory. It is a major supporting force from the Genius War territory, and among that force, there is a territory lord, so whether it is the strength of the strong or the technology, their strength far exceeds that of other forces. It is not that difficult to build a batch of such warships for the genius battlefield to pick up and transport geniuses. A group of geniuses entered the supership. The material and technological level of the supership were unknown. As soon as they entered, the fierce fighting spirit from the outside world disappeared in an instant, leaving the geniuses stunned almost instantly. Then Bai Wangfu will definitely not be able to come in. My hatred must be avenged. Among this group of genius creatures, there is a disguised venerable person with a glint of pride in his eyes. He was the one who lost to Jia Yan yesterday. At this time, through the secret operation of the biochemical starfield, he successfully replaced a moderately talented venerable and entered the supership. I originally thought that after losing to Jia Yan, I could only take revenge by reaching the genius battlefield, but I didn't expect that Bai Wangfu was actually a genius with problems. At this time, even the supership couldn't enter. He looked at the outside world. Situation, the joy in my heart cannot be concealed. Bai Wangfu, you are lucky to die in such a way. Otherwise, in the genius battlefield, I will surpass you very soon, and then torture you for a year before I let you die. Luer's eyes were dull, and he sneered as he looked at the changes in the outside world through the supership's exterior screen. However, although I have less contact with him than Huangfu, he is definitely not a being who accepts his fate. It seems that if he has any trump card, he will use it now. But a venerable person wants to resist a group of pseudo-stars? How can it be so easy? In short, venerable people like Lu Er believed that Bai Wangfu was dead this time. And just as they were all convinced of this idea in their hearts, Jia Yan, who had been suppressed by the momentum within the genius star, finally moved slightly at this moment. Yes, he wants to resist. The pickup ship from Genius Battlefield has arrived, but my biochemical mediation stone is still a little bit unfinished. Alas, there is no other way. I can only struggle towards the supership while suppressing my strength as much as possible. If you can walk 1 meter, it is 1 meter, if you can walk 1 step, it is 1 step. Jia Yan's expression was solemn, and then he moved his steps. Boom. When Jia Yan took a step forward, the entire place where he stayed was shaken. You must know that the surrounding world is almost completely suppressed by those 5 pseudo-stars. Jia Yan's movement, along with the suppressed world and space, is faintly shaking. Therefore, it is normal for the huge houses in the accommodation to vibrate. Extremely. This is Bai Wangfu. He is still able to move under our suppression. He is indeed not an ordinary venerable person. But it's useless. We haven't used all our strength yet. Give it to me. Suddenly, one of the several pseudo-stars scattered around the genius star exploded with all its strength. Jia Yan only felt an extremely huge force suddenly suppressing him, and the place where he stayed. This power is earth-shattering. If it were another venerable, even one with a high level of talent, he might suffer internal bleeding due to the suppression of this power, and then die. But Jia Yan is different. Even if he can't move at full strength at this time, he is still not too afraid of the strength of this single pseudo-star. With a bang, Jia Yan's eyes flashed, and he actually moved his foot again even though his whole body's strength was blocked. Take a step forward. What? he was still able to move even under my full suppression. This is too exaggerated. It can no longer be described as a venerable level. But now that you fall into our hands, it is impossible to escape. That's right, one person can't do it, so, what about two people? Suddenly, along with the mighty words of the 5 pseudo-stars, another terrifying and suppressing power struck fiercely. Boom boom boom. Jia Yan felt that the air and space around him were completely crushed, and his entire body seemed to be bound by endless plastic bands, making it almost impossible to move at all. This power was so terrifying that just a hint of it would cause the entire accommodation building under his feet to collapse. Boom boom boom. There was dust between the sky and the earth. The countless creatures around him looked at the smoke and dust, and many people expressed regret. Especially in the super ship, Dingfu also felt a hint of regret. You must know the task of picking up geniuses. The reason why half-star strong men like them in the genius battlefield love to pick them up is precisely because if they are lucky and one of the geniuses they pick up is a truly strong one, then he will have too many benefits. Well, genius battlefield officials might reward him with something that is very beneficial to reaching the star level. It's a pity that the Venerable has offended the biochemical star territory. In this case, it's hard for him to say anything. He doesn't care at all whether this genius invades the biochemical star field. After all, the genius battlefield maintains absolute impartiality. As long as there are geniuses, theoretically, as long as they are not from the hostile forces in this huge starry sky, they can enter the genius battle area. It's a pity, otherwise this kind of genius who can resist the pressure of a pseudo-star level momentum will definitely have a strong potential in the genius battlefield. He regretted, but had no intention of stopping the scene in front of him. In the surrounding starry sky, ordinary people and media people were observing the smoke and dust. They did not have any sympathy for Bai Wangfu, who was destined to be killed by the 2 pseudo-stellar explosions. After all, everyone now thinks that this genius must be causing destruction in their biochemical star field. But just when the smoke and dust dispersed, the scenery inside appeared in front of the eyes of all the creatures. The entire starry sky was in an uproar. What? He's not dead? You must know that those are 2 pseudo-stellar powerhouses exerting all their pressure. Could it be that this Bai Wangfu is not a high-level talent, but a legendary, top talent genius? Several semi-stellar creatures with some knowledge were just outside the genius star. When they saw Jia Yan's full body after the smoke and dust passed, they thought of this almost instantly. Then they looked at each other with fear in their eyes. You must know that the top genius has only appeared in their biochemical star territory for so many years, and that genius is the most powerful pillar of the entire biochemical star territory at this time. If there is also a top genius in front of him, this time if you can't kill the opponent, then when the opponent grows up, the threat to the biochemical star field will definitely be a world-destroying level. These pseudo-star level adults must kill him. The thoughts of these half-star creatures seemed to be conveyed to the ears of 5 pseudo-star powerhouses. After seeing that Jia Yan was still safe and sound despite the full force of the 2 pseudo-star level experts, one of the 5 pseudo-star level experts made a faint sound. It seems that your genius is truly extraordinary, but no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to stop me from now on. Just give me a break. Boom boom boom. Within the genius star, another wave of pressure from the pseudo-star powerhouse attacked Jia Yan, forcefully pressing Jia Yan's almost frozen figure to the ground. But under this power, the Bai Wangfu, who was completely looked down upon by all living things, actually still did not kneel down. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1176. That body, which is only over 100 meters long, does not look huge, but its momentum and spirit are equally evident. This body is filled with unyielding and strength. Under the momentum of the three pseudo-star level powerhouses, Jia Yan's camouflage metal armor was completely shattered, and his 6 legs and original Mosquito body were exposed. Is the suppression of the momentum of 3 pseudo-stars nothing more than this? Jia Yan's Mosquito compound eyes were inexplicably radiant, and he said calmly with the power of brainwaves. Then, with his Mosquito body completely exposed, he took another difficult step. Boom! The shock between heaven and earth was even more violent. It seemed that the entire space in the starry sky would undergo irreversible major collapse due to the full suppression of the 3 pseudo-star level powerhouses. This. When this scene happened, inside the super ship, as the commander-in-chief, Dingfu could no longer sit still. Being able to block the distant aura of a pseudo-star level powerhouse, a highly gifted master with the talent to resist the aura has a slight possibility of doing so. It may be possible to withstand the full suppression of the 2 pseudo-star powerhouses, but that is not something that high-level talents can do. At least a top level of genius is required. Even the average top genius is unlikely to be able to do it. And a top genius, not to mention the biochemical star field, even in the genius battlefield, is definitely the ultimate treasure. If he can bring this genius back to the genius battlefield, Dingfu is absolutely sure that from the official website of the genius battlefield, he will get top-level benefits that are enough for him to sprint to the star level. But before Dingfu, whose mind exploded like thunder after seeing this scene, could react, one of the 5 pseudo-stars in the genius star that day suddenly burst out with power and suppressed the third force with all his strength. The terrifying momentum was suppressed to the body of the top genius. At this moment, Dingfu almost had the urge to rush out of the super ship and stop these 5 bastards. But the next scene made Dingfu's whole body feel as if he was immobilized, and he was so shocked that he couldn't move for a long time. It's almost impossible to even think. Because of this scene, even he, who is well informed and has seen even the top geniuses, has never seen a powerful force in the genius battlefield. Never even heard of it. Even though the 3 pseudo-star powerhouses suppressed with all their strength, the target of the suppression was still not suppressed to death. Even after he landed, he actually used his own strength to take another step forward. This. Dingfu is very sure that if it were him, he would have reached this step at most under the aura of a group of pseudo-stars, but this guy in front of him is just a venerable. Is this a venerable person or a pseudo-stellar powerhouse? How come under the full power of 3 pseudo-stars, it's like nothing happens? Selling his mother's approval, Dingfu suddenly felt that all those years of his life as a genius had gone to waste. He was nothing to the genius in front of him. But at this point, that venerable must have come to an end. Judging from the situation in the biochemical star territory, he will not stop until he is killed. Should I take action? But if so, in what way? You have to know if I show up once outside the supership, you are not protected by diplomatic immunity. This high-level half-star genius believes that Jia Yan is definitely using his full strength now, because even the ability to withstand the full strength of 3 pseudo-stars is no longer something that ordinary top geniuses can do, and it has even been completely achieved. A venerable person who transcends the top level of talent. If another pseudo-star level powerhouse takes action, the genius will definitely fall that day. And when he couldn't make up his mind, Genius Star once again emitted a pseudo-star level aura with strong murderous intent, shocking the sky. Huangfu, unexpectedly, the 3 comrades can't kill you with all their strength, so I'm sorry, I have no choice but to take action. Boom 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 boom. When 4 extremely terrifying pseudo-star level auras completely suppressed Jia Yan's body, Jia Yan spat out a mouthful of mosquito blood. It's going to be suppressed. Almost all of the 5 pseudo-star level beings looked happy. You must know that they are also under great pressure. They originally thought they were just a venerable person. No matter how powerful they are, Can they still be stronger than a pseudo-star? You must know that the gap between the venerables and the pseudo-star level is so huge that it is almost as huge as a planet or a galaxy. It is absolutely impossible for a mere venerable, even a terrifying high-level gifted venerable, to last long under their full momentum. But what I didn't expect was that the first fellow pseudo-star took action and was unable to suppress the opponent, and then 2, 3. Until the fourth shot, these 5 pseudo-star experts were almost astonished. They had never heard of the opponent's talent. Even the most terrifying top talent in the biochemical star field was born from a star. No superior has ever had such a terrifying talent. But this strengthened their idea to suppress or even kill Jia Yan. Because of such a genius, if he is really let go, it will be a huge trouble for the entire biochemical star territory in the future. Jia Yan spat out a mouthful of blood and smiled bitterly. Because he had to use a huge mind to adjust the biochemical mediation stone, the brainwave power that Jia Yan could use was only about half of the usual. Otherwise, even if he could not resist the pressure of the 4 pseudo-star powerhouses, he would never be so embarrassed as to vomit blood. You are powerful, but I am not that simple. At this moment, Jia Yan burst out with extremely terrifying brainwave power, and stepped forward with his foot again, and this step was not that simple. The space in front of his body was completely distorted. The next moment, he had to bear the extremely terrifying force. 4 pseudo-star level pressures enter subspace. What? You can still move. It's unbelievable, this wild man. You have to know that it is the full force of 4 pseudo-stars. You must not let him go. This guy will almost certainly be a crisis for the entire star field in the future. In the starry sky outside the genius star, the people and powerful onlookers who saw the scene through the remote screen all screamed at this moment. A venerable person was suppressed with all his strength by 4 pseudo-star level beings, but he still didn't lose the power to resist. What kind of talent is this? No one has ever heard of this kind of talent, let alone seen it. A sense of terror invades every biochemical star territory genius. For them, those who have been offended by the top management of the biochemical star territory will definitely come back to take revenge on the biochemical star territory in the future. It is related to their own wealth and life. Naturally, they want the wild man to die here. And the moment Jia Yan stepped down and the space in front of him was distorted, the last pseudo-star finally took action. This pseudo-star is obviously stronger than the others. Although they are all pseudo-stars, they are also strong and weak. This is the other 4 more terrifying and powerful beings. Little friend, you can't leave, he snorted coldly, and then surpassed the brainwave power pressure of at least 20% of the other 4 pseudo-star level, and directly bombarded somewhere on the genius star. But at the moment when the power of his brainwaves hit, Jia Yan's eyes flashed as he stepped down. At this moment, his body speed suddenly increased by 30%. Suddenly speeding up by 30% can definitely have a huge impact at this critical moment. When the opponent's brainwave power is about to hit Jia Yan, he has already stepped into the subspace. Hum. Boom. The entire genius star residential area hit the ground in vain the moment Jia Yan disappeared, and then the houses in the entire area and even the ground completely collapsed. Under the mess, not only the newly incoming brainwave power, but also the pressure of the 4 pseudo-star powerhouses that had previously firmly locked Jia Yan, completely lost track of Jia Yan, and were instantly blasted into the air. And when they were in doubt, 1 kilometer away from the 5 brainwave powers, a figure escaped from the subspace because the space was disrupted. But even so, in the previous confrontation, the owner of this figure could be said to have completely won. Is this the strength of your 5 pseudo-star level experts? 5 pseudo-star level experts are nothing more than this. Jia Yan looked at the scene of destruction behind him, and then showed a mocking smile. This. The 5 pseudo-stars were almost speechless at this moment. And the countless creatures in the starry sky, at this moment, don't know what language to use to express their thoughts. As for the advanced super ship, Dingfu almost jumped to his feet. What kind of genius is this? It's just a venerable person who can escape from the suppression of the 5 pseudo-star level powers. Even if he is a creature with talent in space, he will never be able to do it. No, I must bring this kind of genius to the genius battlefield. If I can take him back, I will definitely be promoted to the star level. Dingfu's whole body was trembling with excitement, but if he wanted to save people in front of 5 pseudo-star level experts, even if he was a highly talented semi-star level person, it would be difficult for him to do so. So at this moment he is calculating. But the battle will not stop because of his calculations. When Jia Yan seemed to mock the 5 pseudo-stars in a contemptuous tone, the genius star, the master of several auras, instantly exploded. Huangfu, you are so brave. A venerable man actually dares to speak arrogant words to our pseudo-star level seniors. You are looking for death. Although Lord Huok wants us to keep him alive, it is no longer that time. Kill him. 5 pseudo-stars, finally, regardless of his identity, he no longer used any momentum to oppress Jia Yan, but directly moved his body, intending to cut Jia Yan into pieces at this moment. They all knew what kind of talent the genius they saw in front of them had. If Jia Yan really escaped, let alone them, the entire biochemical star territory might face destruction in the future because of the growth of this genius. Ending. So even if they try to get a reputation for bullying the small ones, they will take action collectively. Boom. 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 5 pseudo-star level experts flew directly from all directions on the genius star regardless of their identities, and crashed towards Jia Yan's direction. For such a strong man, thousands of kilometers can arrive almost in an instant. Even if he has not arrived, the 5 brain waves as powerful as before have already locked on Jia Yan's position and want to completely suppress him. Originally from Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1177. The 5 old men have finally arrived in person. Here, Jia Yan, who had expected it, had the same fighting spirit in his eyes. If he wants to board the super ship, he must fight these 5 terrifying beings, otherwise he will never be able to leave. Moreover, Jia Yan vaguely felt that behind these 5 terrifying beings, there was an even more astonishing being about to arrive. This made Jia Yan feel horrified and understood the identity of that astonishingly powerful man. Live channel. Jia Yan's heart almost trembled when he thought of the opponent's strength. This was the most terrifying and powerful person he had ever fought head-on, and he was also a person that Jia Yan could never defeat now. When it appears, death is inevitable. War. In order to get a chance of survival, Jia Yan fought hard towards the 5 pseudo-star level creatures and suddenly attacked them. Bai Huangfu, when the genius led the way, I should have killed you. A pseudo-stellar powerhouse was very familiar to Jia Yan, because he was the pseudo-stellar person who questioned Jia Yan in the genius guidance way that day. However, on that day, it was impossible for him to imagine that Jia Yan would really be a troublesome outsider, let alone that the 5 pseudo-stars of them would attack together, but they would not be able to suppress the suspect with their momentum. But it's not too late now. How could this outsider have the slightest chance of escaping when he was blocked by 5 of their powerful pseudo-star level warriors? Give me the town. This pseudo-star reached Jia Yan's side at the fastest speed. The pseudo-star control power in his body rose in panic and enveloped Jia Yan completely. Jia Yan instantly felt a terrifying control power that surpassed that of Fei Heng he had fought before, suppressing his body so that he could not move. After all, the Fei Heng he fought before had just been promoted to the pseudo-star level not long ago, but the 5 pseudo-star level experts in front of him had been promoted for a long time, and their strength was completely stable at the pseudo-star level. The two sides cannot be the same. Haha, you actually took the lead. Senior Huoku will praise you later. The four pseudo-stellar experts chasing after him almost felt jealous of this pseudo-stellar expert. Although they don't know why the creature in front of them is so important to Huoku, this does not prevent them from understanding that the first one to catch Bai Wangfu will definitely be valued and even praised by Senior Huoku. Although they were jealous, the other party rushed to Jia Yan first, relying on his own strength, so it was difficult to say anything at this time. Do you think you can win this way? Just when a group of pseudo-stars thought that the matter was decided, Jia Yan, who was completely enveloped by the power of control, actually spoke. Hey, you can still speak. It seems that you are indeed not an ordinary venerable person. No wonder Master Huoku is interested in you. But it's useless. Under my control, even a top-notch half-star genius, were suppressed to the point where it was difficult to move. Do you think you are stronger than the top half-star geniuses? The pseudo-star creature who suppressed Jia Yan snorted disdainfully at Jia Yan. Oh? Am I not as powerful as a top half-star genius? You can try. Under the control of power, Jia Yan actually moved his front foot by 1 centimeter again. Don't underestimate this extremely difficult 1 centimeter. Moving this small distance is enough for Jia Yan to break through a trace of control and suddenly enter the distorted subspace. Buzz. The whole world was filled with the trembling sound of barely breaking through the space. This? Impossible. When the pseudo-stellar creature saw that there was no trace of any creature in the area under its control, almost its entire body paused in disbelief. Careful. At the moment when his head was dizzy, a warning shout from behind reached his ears. A sense of crisis suddenly arose in his mind, and he moved dangerously sideways. And just as he was moving, a sharp front foot pierced the space where he was before by just a hair, and the sharpness spread throughout the starry sky. If he didn't dodge well, he would definitely be slightly injured. Although it would only be a minor injury, this scene made the pseudo-star level almost furious. You must know that he is a pseudo-stellar powerhouse, and the situation of being almost injured is almost unbearable, not to mention that the other party is just a respected creature. The one who took action was indeed Jia Yan. When he stabbed his front foot and struck, he didn't stop at all and didn't even see the result. He instantly hid in the subspace again. And just when he hid in the subspace, several terrifying control forces rushed out instantly, completely sealing off the space he was in before. One of the controlling forces reacted even more quickly. The moment Jia Yan hid in the subspace, he followed him in, then chased after Jia Yan, almost catching him. Fortunately, Jia Yan was extremely fast in the subspace, and escaped like crazy towards the deep space, and then reached the 6th degree of depth. The control force chasing behind him was deemed to be powerless and stopped arresting him. All this happened like lightning and in the eyes of the onlookers. The entire starry sky was once again shocked into silence by the scene in front of them. Did I just see that Naba Wangfu actually faced off against 5 pseudo-stars, and he was still alive? This is no longer a battle that I can imagine. A venerable, facing 5 pseudo-stars, although the scene was extremely dangerous, still fought with the 5 of them for a while. This is no longer a venerable, it looks like it's basically a pseudo-stellar level. In the corner of the star, several talented sages from Hongtian Martial Arts Hall who had walked with Jia Yan and lived together were now even more lightheaded, as if they were sleepwalking. Bai Wangfu is not only a middle-level talent, but also a high-level talent. He defeated Luer, and then today, he directly fought 5 pseudo-stars without being killed directly. This is what we have come all the way. That one is better than Huangfu. We actually walked with such a legendary powerhouse all the way, and we were even hostile to him before. This is a completely incomprehensible existence. Now, not only can we play for a lifetime, but future generations can continue to play. Living with a venerable person who has never heard of it for such a long time, almost a source of pride for us. Several sages were gibbering like they were dreaming. They previously thought that being able to say a word to a highly gifted venerable was something worthy of bragging for a lifetime. Now that they met the person they thought was a highly gifted venerable, it was Jia Yan who suddenly transformed and directly fought against 5 famous pseudo-stellar seniors in the biochemical star field. It was as if he had seen something that would cause the world to collapse. Of course, no matter what the end of this venerable person is, they will definitely be able to brag about it for the rest of their lives, and even their children and grandchildren will be able to brag about it forever. The shock in the biochemical star field may be extremely huge, but they are definitely not as shocked as the half-star in the super ship now. As a semi-star powerhouse with a high level of talent, none of the onlookers present understood what the venerable man in front of him had done. My God, what did I see? A venerable person who can confront a group of pseudo-stellar powerhouses head-on? I am dreaming. I must be dreaming. This kind of talent is not to mention biochemical. The star field has never appeared before, and even our genius battlefield has definitely never appeared before. If I can help him, not to mention the rewards from the genius battlefield, just the fact that this genius who will be absolutely terrifying in the future is grateful to me will be absolutely worth it. I must take action. He firmed up his thoughts, and even at this moment, he did not think that the genius battlefield would reward him. As long as he could gain the favor of the venerable genius, he thought it was enough. But how to take action? Facing 5 pseudo-stars, even if I take action, I will definitely be suppressed instantly. And although the super ship has combat effectiveness, I can't activate it unless it is in a special state. He was almost anxious, scratching his head and ears. But his anxiety could not help Jia Yan. Just when Jia Yan had just escaped from the control of the 5 pseudo-star level powerhouses, the 5 pseudo-star level powerhouses were already solemn, and the 5 people for the first time, we gathered together. Subspace talent? It's a very good escape talent, but, that's all. Now let me show you the true strength of a star. A pseudo-stellar powerhouse turned his eyes somewhere, and then a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Buzz buzz. The whole space shook. Talented voice? Not good. Just when Jia Yan was wondering what the pseudo-star was going to do, a deep sense of crisis suddenly filled his heart. The moment the pseudo-stellar powerhouse used his voice talent and the control power of the pseudo-stellar level, the distortion in the entire subspace was completely chaotic. Puff. Jia Yan felt that the deep space in front of him was distorted, and then his whole body was thrown away. In the turbulent flow, he floated towards the outside world uncontrollably. Under the control of the sound, even the subspace was actually affected by it. Is this the power of control after reaching the pseudo-stellar level? No wonder Edisha said that after reaching the stellar level, no talent is an absolute advantage, and no talent is an absolute weakness. Almost at this moment, Jia Yan thought he was going to lose. Damn it, I still have to spend half of my energy trying to communicate with the mediation stone. It would be nice if I didn't have to do that. You must know that his communication and biochemical mediation stone occupies half of his brainwave power, which is equivalent to a direct loss of half of his strength, otherwise he would be in such a mess now. Just when Jia Yan was depressed and wanted to find a way to escape urgently, suddenly, his mind was shocked. In an instant, he communicated with the brainwave power that mediates death and calmed down. Huh? The mediation stone actually succeeded in mediation. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1178. Before the war started, Jia Yan knew that this was the last moment for the mediation stone, but he could not calculate the specific time, but he just hoped that the communication could be completed quickly. Fastest update. Unexpectedly, the mediation stone, which had been devouring the power of his own brainwaves and changing its internal structure, would actually stop devouring the power of his brainwaves at this extremely dangerous moment. This means that the mediation stone has been communicated and can be used. However, at this moment, Jia Yan did not use it directly, but hurriedly used half of the brainwave power that had been unable to be used before, and instantly activated it. At this moment, his entire giant mosquito body was directly covered with a layer of extremely blue color. The first is Azure Defense. The next step is to use all the brainwave power to control yourself from being controlled by the other party and pull out the subspace. But just as he was fighting with the opponent, for more control powers, following the control power of the voice talent, suddenly entered the subspace and pulled him suddenly. Even Jia Yan, who exploded with all his strength, was unable to resist. The pull was pulled out of the subspace. What? He actually changed color, and I felt that he was suddenly more than twice as powerful as Huangfu. What on earth is going on? No matter what, it doesn't matter if he is twice as strong. He is still a venerable one after all. Hurry up and catch him. Several pseudo-stars were just outside the subspace. When they saw Jia Yan being pulled and flown into the normal space, he was suddenly stunned. But after all, they are strong men with extremely rich combat experience. At this moment, they don't care so much. They all rush towards Jia Yan's direction in an instant, hoping to capture Jia Yan with their own bodies. But they obviously underestimated Jia Yan, who had now fully exploded in strength. Give me a breakthrough. Seeing that he could release the Azure Defense, Jia Yan was determined. At this moment, he suddenly thrust out his front foot and struck hard at the control force in front of him. Is it so easy to break through with a pseudo-star level control power? Overestimating one's own capabilities. The power that trapped Jia Yan was a pseudo-stellar powerhouse with giant feet. When he saw Jia Yan actually using his blue feet to stab his own power, his expression suddenly changed. No crumbs. Even now, this group of pseudo-stellar powerhouses still believe that if it were not for Huoku's order, they would have killed them long ago. The venerable person in front of them will definitely die without a burial place. Now, the venerable person has not noticed at all. At this point, I want to break his control power. The control power of a pseudo-stellar powerhouse, even if it is still far from the control power of a real star-level powerhouse, is far beyond the imagination of ordinary creatures. He can faintly see that this is better than the stabbing power of Huangfu. Take control of your own power, and then react to the scene of being injured. But just when he was extremely confident, he saw Jia Yan's front foot stabbing him to control the power, but that was all. Buzz. The entire world was filled with piercing screams, and then Jia Yan instantly pierced through the control power of this pseudo-stellar powerhouse and flew out of the sky. Why is this happening? The pseudo-stellar powerhouse almost spurted out a mouthful of blood. Although he did not completely risk his life to control the world, he did not release water or anything, but the creature in front of him actually broke through his control in an instant. Looking at the four colleagues around him, they all looked at him with doubtful expressions, as if he had deliberately let off steam. He wanted to explain that he didn't do that, but he thought that others wouldn't believe it. He could only smile bitterly and speed up towards Jia Yan. Speed, quickly seize the opponent's meritorious service to offset this mistake. But soon he wouldn't have to explain anything. Because under their pursuit, Jia Yan's speed was constantly entering subspace. Although he was always forced out, in total, he was not much slower than their 5 pseudo-stars. Then the control power released by the other 4 pseudo-star powerhouses in anger was actually penetrated by the opponent's seemingly ordinary blue 4-foot one by one, with almost no blocking effect. And several others also understood that the previous pseudo-star level creature had no mercy at all. But the opponent's front feet are too sharp. It's so sharp that it can cut even the power of control. Bai Wangfu, if you can, stop and fight us head on. A pseudo-star almost cried. The 5 of them were chasing a venerable person under the spotlight, but they still couldn't catch him. They were even tricked like flying a kite. This was so humiliating. As a venerable, I would be stupid if I didn't run away from you 5 pseudo-star level chasers. Otherwise, if you have the ability to suppress your strength to the venerable level, let's see who is stronger. Jia Yan didn't stop at all. Instead, he turned around and sneered while leading this group of pseudo-stars in circles. The words of the 5 pseudo-stars were stagnant. If another venerable, even one with top talent, said such words, they would really dare to suppress their strength and fight with each other. But this opponent was replaced by Jia Yan, who was in front of him with weird strength. They really don't dare. Even if they use their full power, they cannot catch up with Duiju, and if they control the power and cannot stop the front foot, if they really seal the power and turn into a venerable to fight the opponent, it will really be a slap in the head, almost courting death. Humph, it seems they don't dare. I just took this opportunity to swallow the biochemical mediation stone. Jia Yan looked at the super ship. He found that if he wanted to get close to the super ship, the strongest one among the 5 pseudo-stellar level experts would quietly adjust his direction. Although Jia Yan was not sure what the opponent's backup plan was. But he can be sure that if he really rushes towards the super ship, he will definitely face the opponent's strongest attack. Now he is not sure about the next step, so he simply started to devour the mediation stone. Ordinary creatures, if they want to swallow the mediation stone, have to find a place where they will not be disturbed, and then it will take more than 10 days to completely digest the mediation stone. But I'm different. I'm an evolved beast. Devouring matter has always been my specialty. In short, there shouldn't be any danger, and even if there is danger, I have to try it, otherwise I will continue to be entangled like this until the job comes. If I don't, then I'm really in danger. Jia Yan no longer cared about so much and controlled his body. Without others noticing, a force in his body quietly forced out a stream of condensation and completely wrapped the 3 biochemical mediation stones hidden under his wings. What a terrible attraction! I have reached the peak of the venerable world, and yet it can still have such a great attraction for me. It is indeed a treasure of the biochemical star field. First one, start. The moment Jia Yan's condensate wrapped the 3 biochemical mediation stones, Jia Yan started to devour them without any hesitation. Ah! The next moment, his entire flying figure suddenly shook, and he was almost caught by several pseudo-star level experts behind him. Fortunately, after this moment of stagnation, its speed suddenly increased. In an instant, it exploded to a speed that was 10% higher than before, once again pulling the 5 pseudo-stars behind. Damn it, I should have seized the opportunity at that moment, used my backhand, and completely caught him. Don't worry, this must be because he has been using special explosive power. Now that power is about to fade away. If we wait a little longer, we will be able to catch him. That's right, now is not the time for us to use our full strength, otherwise it will be bad if we accidentally beat him to death. Senior Huoku asked us to try our best to catch him alive. Anyway, he only has this kind of strength, so take your time. We'll get caught. In fact, several pseudo-stars did not use their full strength. Although Jia Yan embarrassed them several times, the actual strength gap between the two sides was still extremely terrifying. After all, the current Jia Yan did not even have the strength when he entered the battle armor. None, and the opponent is a pseudo-star whose strength exceeds Baitan in every aspect. It is estimated that it is not too difficult to use his true strength to crush the current Jia Yan. Of course, Jia Yan also had a trump card, but since the opponent didn't fully use his murderous intent, he had no intention of using it. After all, that trump card would do too much harm to him. The mentality of the 5 pseudo-stars at this moment is to delay the time as long as possible. The opponent is just a venerable. Now he can explode at such a speed, but how can he compare with them in terms of endurance? But this group of pseudo-star powerhouses are, if you meet Jia Yan's former opponents, others will definitely cry and persuade them not to do this. Jia Yan's endurance is so strong that even he himself has no bottom. The two sides were like this, with one venerable class escaping quickly in the starry sky, and the other 5 pseudo-star classes chasing behind. At the same time, there was the strongest one who was always on guard against Jia Yan's escape into the genius battlefield. In the supership, time passes slowly. Sure enough, as an evolved beast, I have a bonus effect on swallowing this biochemical mediation stone. Just when Jia Yan controlled himself to swallow the mediation stone, the first mediation stone was quickly transformed into his own body, bit by bit, removing the few unnecessary fragments of his genes, and he also felt the power coming from him. As you gradually become stronger and stronger. This, Lord Byario, right? I am the commander of the supership. Do you need help? A man's voice, with a hint of respect, reached Jia Yan's ears. Huh? Supership commander, Jia Yan was startled, and then followed the source of the brainwave power and sent back a brainwave power. Both sides did all this, and the 5 pseudo-star level experts who were pursuing them were completely unaware. It can be seen that both sides have reached a certain level of strength. Yes, I come from the genius battlefield. You can rest assured that I have no hostility towards you at all. In other words, having a genius like you join my genius battlefield is something I am extremely looking forward to seeing. I wonder what you want. What kind of help? But my own strength is not as strong as that of the 5 pseudo-star level experts. I'm afraid I won't be able to help you in any way. The other party's words were extremely sincere, and Jia Yan's heart moved slightly. As someone who had been in the genius battlefield for a long time, he would definitely not believe the bullshit that the other party said about looking forward to seeing him join the genius battlefield. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1179. However, Jia Yan also knows that every supership from the genius battlefield that comes out to receive geniuses is a task for the masters of the powerful forces in the central star area of the genius battlefield. As long as powerful geniuses join, they will be rewarded by the genius battlefield. And this guy probably wants this reward too? Jia Yan didn't expect it at all. The other party did think so before, but every time he saw Jia Yan's strength explode, the idea of rewarding him became much lighter at the moment. With such a person whose strength is so incredible that he can compete with 5 pseudo-stars. The friendship between the entangled geniuses, just as a favor to Jia Yan, must be of great benefit to him. Thank you very much. What I need you to do now is to start the superfast ship and then wait for me at the critical value that can enter super navigation at any time. Jia Yan thought for a while and said to the other party. Okay. Everyone was strong, and the commander immediately knew what Jia Yan was thinking. That's right, Jia Yan just wants to use an instant burst to get close to the supership that can leave quickly at any time. Then the supership will be activated and leave here directly. But it is easier said than done. Huh? Has the supership been activated? Haha, Bai Wangfu, you are dead. When the supership leaves, you will have no way out. Just wait to be caught by us. Seeing the huge supership, with the roar of its engine soaring into the sky, it slowly exited the majestic passage on the Genius Star, and slowly entered the starry sky of the universe. A group of pseudo-stellar powerhouses were chasing behind Jia Yan. Almost everyone was surprised. You must know that they are dealing with Jia Yan because they are afraid that Jia Yan will enter the supership. Although they do not know whether the supership will accept this creature that is obviously not from the biochemical star field, after entering the supership, the impact will be too great. It will also be out of their control, so they were overjoyed to see the supership open at this time. No. This supership didn't leave, Just after they continued to chase Jia Yan for a while, the expressions of several pseudo-stellar powerhouses suddenly changed. I wonder which genius battlefield friend is on the supership? This Bai Wangfu is the enemy of our biochemical star field. In order to avoid accidental damage, please order the battleship to leave. That's right, haven't you already received this batch of biochemical starfield geniuses? Please don't linger on the battlefield. Several pseudo-stellar creatures sent brainwave power communications to the supership that stayed on the edge of the battlefield and kept accelerating in the engine. However, their words did not receive any response. Sorry, Genius Battlefield selects geniuses without looking at their origins. Could it be that the commander in the supership likes Bai Wangfu? He must not be allowed to board the supership to prevent him from getting closer. You bastard, you are just a half-star, but you are so bold. If this guy dares to disembark from the supership, I will kill him with one blow. Several pseudo-star level creatures were extremely angry. As pseudo-star level creatures, of course they knew that the commander on the ship was only a highly talented half-star. To be honest, they were not afraid of this kind of existence at all. Even among these 5 pseudo-stellar level experts, 3 of them have once been in the genius battlefield as geniuses. Faced with a genius battlefield half-star level that is far inferior to them, they are naturally no fear at all. But Fang Qiang's strength lies in his status as a genius in the battlefield, and the supership is not that simple, so even if they are angry at this time, they have no way to deal with it. Only the 5 of them dispersed further, blocking Jia Yan's approach to the supership. Block him and prevent him from approaching the supership. Let's see where he escapes. That's right, it's just a venerable level. If it doesn't work, we'll kill him. Hey, something's wrong. Why do I feel that the speed of his escape is getting faster and faster? Doesn't it mean that his body will gradually decrease? Several pseudo-stars dispersed to block Jia Yan, but each of them felt a sense of surprise and uncertainty, because they all felt that Jia Yan seemed to have become faintly stronger after this short delay. That is. After all, the pseudo-star level is a pseudo-star level, and it is a very powerful creature even in the biochemical star field. They had also used the biochemical mediation stone. Now, after the fear, they suddenly felt the familiar breath of the biochemical mediation stone on Jia Yan. He is using the biochemical mediation stone. This Bai Wangfu actually wants to improve his strength in battle. It's impossible. We need to find a quiet place to swallow the mediation stone, and it will take at least several days. He actually swallowed it like this, and the abandoned genes were squeezed out so quickly. Why is this? No matter why, stop him quickly. He is so powerful now. Once he swallows the biochemical mediation stone, he might actually be able to escape into the supership. That's right, even if you disobey Master Huoku's order, you have to do it. This will definitely be a huge disaster if Huangfu escapes. Now the only way is to kill him before he has finished devouring him. Kill. When the 5 major stars saw Jia Yan showing the state of swallowing the biochemical mediation stone, they all made the decision to kill Jia Yan. After all, they were pseudo-stars. Although they had always acted like they were being played by Jia Yan, in fact they had always thought that they were in control of the situation. But now, when they saw Jia Yan actually swallowing the biochemical mediation stone, everyone suddenly became uneasy. They must know that the venerable creature in front of them has far exceeded their expectations. They have never seen or even heard of such a gifted creature. Now, although they feel that they can still control the other party, they are being swallowed by the other party. If you get the biochemical mediation stone, your strength will definitely be greatly improved, and you might really be able to escape from it. 5 powerful creatures almost instantly emitted brainwave power that exploded in the direction of Jia Yan. It's not that simple for us to kill people at the pseudo-star level. Just die now. The pseudo-stellar level truly showed murderous intent, and its strength was astonishing. On Jia Yan's side, when he slowly showed the swallowing effect of the biochemical mediation stone, he was already on guard against the opponent's explosion and hurting people. Very good, the first one is completely swallowed. When the 5 pseudo-stars noticed his strange movement, Jia Yan had already heard an explosion in his body, and a bunch of unknown impurities flew out of his exoskeleton like discarded items. This is the effect of the first biochemical mediation stone. What? He has already devoured it? Even if he devoured it, it would be useless. Die now. When several pseudo-stars saw that Jia Yan had finished swallowing the biochemical mediation stone, their expressions changed drastically, and then they rushed towards him even more crazily. But while they were charging, they felt that the aura of the venerable creature in front of them was rapidly increasing, but they still had the feeling of being devoured by the biochemical mediation stone. He has already swallowed the biochemical mediation stone, why is he still feeling like he is swallowing it? Could it be? It's impossible. Each creature can only swallow one biochemical mediation stone. It's useless to swallow more. He is still swallowing it. It's crazy. He will die from excessive genetic optimization without us taking action. Fear flashed through the hearts of several pseudo-stars. They had previously thought that Jia Yan must have swallowed a biochemical mediation stone, but they did not expect that after he showed signs of swallowing one, there was still a feeling that he was swallowing another. Although they thought it was impossible for the other party to swallow 2 in a row, the various abnormal behaviors of the venerable creatures in front of them kept flashing in their minds. At this moment of crisis, they did not care whether the other party could swallow more. Kill anyway. The most powerful pseudo-star level expert roared angrily, and then punched out towards the place where Jia Yan was. He was about 2 kilometers in size, and when he hit him with a punch, it almost caused the entire world to completely collapse. Several pseudo-stars on the other side also used their own trump cards, attacking with brainwave power, attacking with weapons, and so on. Faced with such an attack, let alone a venerable person, even an ordinary star-level person who has just been promoted may have to avoid the edge for a while. But in their eyes, the venerable man who should have fled in panic, but could not escape after all, had a strange light in his eyes. Then, he didn't even dodge, but instead charged directly at the huge fist that struck him. You actually fought back. How brave. The strongest pseudo-star, seeing Jia Yan refusing to dodge, and suppressed by the control of the world and the several pseudo-stars, instead flew towards his fist with great force and speed, and was almost furious. He is not just a pseudo-star level. As a powerful pseudo-star level member in the biochemical star field, his real talent is high. He could have hit the real star level, but due to the crisis, he only reached the pseudo-star level. Star rating. Through his tireless exploration over the years, he even saw a hint of star level. He believed that given himself a few more years, he would be able to reach the great strength of star level. And now a mere venerable man, even with the power of the biochemical mediation stone, dares to fight back against him? This was simply humiliating for him. Between heaven and earth, the rapidly enlarging fist was like a phantom, hitting Jia Yan. At the same time, the other 4 pseudo-stars also slowed down because their attacks could not accidentally damage the strongest man. Right now, Jia Yan is approaching the level of the strongest pseudo-star, and the brilliant light bursting out of his compound eyes is unprecedentedly brilliant. Bang! Between the heaven and the earth, an extremely shocking space sound resounded. Ha 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 ha! A young and frivolous laughter filled the entire starry sky. Old man, this is the strength that exploded after I swallowed a biochemical mediation stone. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The moment the voice sounded, drastic changes occurred in the entire starry sky. The space trembled, and the world almost turned upside down. This. The 5 pseudo-star powerhouses were completely speechless almost instantly. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1180. Jia Yan's wild laughter could still be heard in his ears, but the pseudo-stellar class, including the surrounding spectators watching the battle, and even the semi-stellar geniuses in the super ship, all felt a sense of aphasia at this moment. It also has a weird meaning. Because even though the explosion was earth-shaking and the starry sky exploded, when all living beings looked at Jia Yan's explosion of strength, they no longer felt the same sense of mystery as before. Because Jia Yan's originally extremely perfect body of a flying creature, with the almost invulnerable body of an evolved beast, at this moment, due to the optimization of the biochemical mediation stone, his body experienced a strange change. That was his already slender mouth part. In less than a second, it stretched like ramen noodles. It was originally only about 20 meters long, but after this bang, it suddenly grew to more than 100 meters long. It's as if he has an extra spear that is longer than his body. Weird, deformed. Ha ha ha. Jia Yan's laughter slowly stopped because he also noticed the changes in his body. Naturally, he laughed because his strength had greatly increased. Now he felt that at least 20% more strength had suddenly increased in his body. However, he did not expect that this explosive increase in strength would actually have sequelae. He was stunned, looking at his elongated mouth parts, almost on the verge of crying. Ahem, anyway, you die. The strongest pseudo-stellar powerhouse, who was also stunned for a moment, realized at this moment that genetic optimizers had a certain chance of experiencing body changes, so it was still important to kill Jia Yan at this time. He struck Jia Yan harder with his fist. After all, although this guy looked a lot funny, the surge of strength in his body was real. If you don't put in some force, you might not even be able to kill him with one blow. Death? You are the one who died for me. Jia Yan felt a burst of annoyance in his mind. He looked at the giant fist of the monster in front of him. Without thinking much, he thrust his slender mouthpart like a spear into it. The originally slender mouthparts are now stretched even longer, which means it is more tapered and sharper. Of course, originally being so slender also meant that he was more fragile, but Jia Yan had no choice. He knew that even if his strength increased by 20%, he would not be able to confront this pseudo-star head-on. At this moment, he could only use this. The weapon was used to see if it could withstand the opponent. Even if it broke, he would be happy to see the success. But he didn't expect that the sharp mouthpart was like the tip of a needle, piercing into the flesh of the giant fist almost instantly without any obstruction. Click. There was a crisp sound, but it was actually blocked by bones. Well. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, and then his facial expression turned into surprise. How is that possible? The most powerful pseudo-stellar creature waved its arm in shock, trying to shake the mouthpart away. Under this swing, Jia Yan's body moved together, but his mouthpart was still like a dogskin plaster, and there was no feeling of being broken off at all. Haha, I see. I know why the mouthparts changed, but now is not the time to think about that. Give it to me first. Suck. Jia Yan was shocked at first, and then he looked as if he had figured something out. Then he felt very happy and started to use the suction power of his mouth parts. Ah, my blood, my blood. This guy is a vampire, damn it. Almost at the same moment, the strongest pseudo-star felt a stream of blood being sucked away by the mouthparts in the skin of his fist. And this kind of absorption is extremely brutal, not just the blood on the surface of the fist, but even through the blood vessels of this pseudo-stellar creature, the entire arm dries up in an instant visible to the naked eye. He was frightened, and quickly turned his other fist into a giant palm and slapped the mouthpart violently. Under this palm, even Jia Yan's newly strengthened mouthparts could be easily broken off by a palm, and would have no effect anymore. Beer. Of course Jia Yan is not that stupid. He has already received benefits, and he will definitely give up when he sees them. Almost instantly, Jia Yan pulled out his mouthpiece and ran away. At the same time, the other 4 pseudo-star level creatures had already attacked behind Jia Yan. Buzz. Jia Yan spread his wings on his back, fully demonstrating the ability of a mosquito to escape. After escaping the 2 most dangerous attacks, he stepped out with one front foot and entered the subspace with great difficulty. The 4 pseudo-stars had no intention of catching him. Instead, they came to the strongest pseudo-star and looked at his withered arm in great horror. "Senior, are you okay? Here, what kind of creature is he? Why did his mouthparts suddenly become longer, and why can he easily pierce your skin?" The scene was so weird that a group of pseudo-stars actually forgot to capture Jia Yan, but looked at the strongest man's injuries in confusion. He must be a vampire, and his blood-sucking ability is very powerful. Let's not say so much. Besides, he is about to escape. The strongest pseudo-star, even if it encountered such a situation, still did not panic too much. Instead, it instantly pushed away the pseudo-star around it, and its brainwave power surged and enveloped somewhere in the starry sky. This time, out of shame and anger, he used almost all the power he could use. A moment later, Jia Yan's figure was there, forced out of the subspace by the power of his brain waves. But this time he was not so embarrassed, and a long mouthpart shone in the starry sky, making everyone look at him and feel Mo Ming's fear. In the past, the 5 of us took action with all our strength. This time we must kill him. The injured pseudo-star, with an unprecedented murderous intent flashing in his eyes, led a group of pseudo-stars to kill Jia Yan. At this time, Jia Yan's giant mosquito's abdomen was almost protruding, and the blood of the most powerful pseudo-stellar creature was flowing in his stomach. So that's it? My previous path has been to develop my front legs and defense. Although I can't say it's wrong, in fact, my biggest feature has always been this mouth part. And the mouth parts are not used all the time. Every time it mutates, it is not utilized to the maximum extent. As a result, useless genes accumulate here. Even my mouthparts gradually become shorter than those of a mosquito. And the genetic optimization of this first mediation stone has its effect completely placed on it. Jia Yan knew the reason for the changes in mouthparts. To put it bluntly, he had never paid attention to the changes in mouthparts before, and he rarely paid attention to fighting with mouthparts. Especially after food is dispensable to him, the mouthparts are almost just a decoration. And this time of genetic optimization, because the mouthparts are the place with the most invalid genes in his body, the result is obvious: the mouthparts have been maximized. Although it grows to 100 meters in one breath and seems a bit deformed, the effect looks pretty good. It can even pierce the skin of an extremely powerful pseudo-star, and it seems that the opponent is not defenseless. Why haven't I made good use of such a terrifying weapon before? Jia Yan looked at the long protruding mouthparts. Although it wasn't that pretty, it was definitely a powerful weapon for him now, so he nodded slightly. A few of my legs are still longer than my mouthparts, and I can still fight with them. Jia Yan Fiki watched a powerful pseudo-star level attack, and then his body swam and his strength exploded. Compared to the previous confrontation, he took the initiative much more. Puff. Just as a pseudo-stellar creature failed to check for a moment, Jia Yan's long mouthparts silently passed through the opponent's body during the thrilling pursuit. The mouth needle penetrates and sucks a mouthful of blood. Ah! Bastard! The pseudo-stellar powerhouse was going crazy. Although this mouthful of blood was nothing, it was a huge loss of face for him, and there was a faint hint of anger. You must know that Jia Yan just now could only escape like a dead dog when they chased him, but in just a short time, he was able to defend and attack them. But Jia Yan also paid a price for this risky puff. As soon as he finished taking the sip, an attack suddenly came from beside him. It was the strongest pseudo-stellar powerhouse. An earth-shattering explosion almost erupted in the starry sky. Jia Yan was hit squarely on the head, and the entire starry sky was like a solar explosion, flashing gamma rays. The electromagnetic radiation produced by the explosion blasted in all directions across the universe, making onlookers 10,000 kilometers away stagger. This time, he is at least seriously injured. The strongest pseudo-stellar powerhouse suddenly became excited when he felt that his attack was right in the middle and hit Jia Yan head-on without any hindrance. You must know that this is his all-out attack. That mere venerable level creature will definitely not die but will also be seriously injured. Why? Why is this happening? And just as he was pleasantly surprised, the expressions of several pseudo-stars on the other side suddenly turned into horror at almost the same moment. He was startled and quickly looked away. Then the strongest pseudo-star also took a breath of air and smiled bitterly. Because under his blow, Jia Yan was indeed seriously injured, his body was broken, and a lot of blood that had been sucked into his stomach before he flew upside down spurted out. But while he was flying upside down, the breath that had been completely swallowed by another biochemical mediation stone surged out again. Then his originally injured torso was repairing quickly like crazy, and the energy consumed was the stomach of blood that Jia Yan had sucked into his stomach before. You must know that this is the blood of two pseudo-star level experts. The energy in their blood is not much different from that of powerful energy stones. At this time, with the help of these two streams of energy in the blood, the mediation stone in Jia Yan's body actually used it to expel the excess gene fragments from the trunk while repairing Jia Yan's injured parts. This is a monster. The 5 pseudo-star level experts were almost on the verge of crying when they looked at this crazy self-repairing venerable. He is obviously a venerable, but he is as powerful as a top pseudo-star. He has been on the verge of death several times, but he still has a trump card every time. What kind of venerable person is this? They feel like they are going crazy. But under such circumstances, the Bai Wangfu who played with them several times, after his body was repaired visibly to the naked eye, actually said something to them with a fierce light in his eyes. This hurts so much. I'm angry. I'm going to suck all your blood. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1181. The scene just now was completely planned by Jia Yan. When the second biochemical mediation stone was about to be adjusted, he took the risk to attack a pseudo-stellar powerhouse. The result was not beyond his expectation. He sucked a mouthful of blood, but was punched away by the strongest pseudo-stellar creature. He should have been seriously injured, but due to the effect of the mediation stone that happened to appear, his entire body began to undergo genetic decomposition and become stronger. Coupled with the blood energy of the pseudo-star powerhouse, he was instantly resurrected with full blood and his injuries were intact. Are you surprised or surprised? Jia Yan flew towards the 5 pseudo-stars. What had just been transformed was the torso. After all, apart from the mouth parts, the torso was relatively weak. After the junk genes were discharged, he felt that his whole body was full of strength. Using the energy of the blood, the entire body was like an inflatable ball, instantly thickening the body's exoskeleton defense, like an extra layer of armor about 2 meters thick, making Jia Yan almost feel that the armor was back. A general sense of security. First counterattack. He charged towards a group of pseudo-stars. This scene made the 5 pseudo-stars almost go crazy. Your Majesty, you just escaped our attack, but now you dare to fight back. Where is our dignity if we don't kill him? Be careful, this guy can actually swallow 2 biochemical mediation stones, and his strength is so weird that it cannot be compared with ordinary venerables. Huh? No, why is there still the swallowing feeling of the mediation stone in his body? Could it be? The 5 pseudo-stars wanted to prepare for the battle, but when they saw Jia Yan's body, the powerful ones were stunned. Because they noticed that Jia Yan was still devouring the biochemical mediation stone in his body. What? Why is he still devouring it? Isn't he satisfied with 2 pieces and wants to swallow 3? It's crazy, it's definitely death. No one can do $2, and he definitely can't bear $3. The 5 pseudo-star level experts felt the continued devouring of Jia Yan's body, and almost every one of them jumped up. Although everyone was asserting that Jia Yan was bound to die, they charged faster because they understood that what was in front of them was biology is definitely not something that can be described by common sense. If it were an ordinary venerable person, let alone fighting head-on with these 5 powerful men, even if he leaked a little bit of his aura, he would definitely be able to suppress it easily. A creature that could fight them head-on and then swallowed 2 biochemical mediation stones and digested them in a short time was beyond their imagination. Asshole, why is he able to fight while he is devouring? Every one of us is devouring, and every one of us is almost rolling over in pain. Isn't he afraid of the pain? The strongest pseudo-star came to Jia Yan and punched it away. But in the past, Jia Yan had to be careful with his fists. This time, his eyes only flashed, and then his whole body flashed with azure meaning, and he hit the fist forcefully. Flames shot up into the sky, and the collision caused a shocking explosion. Even the subspace completely collapsed, and the endless vacuum around it completely turned into a sea of fire. In this sea of fire, Jia Yan flew upside down and was hit by a punch. However, not to mention death and serious injuries, there was even just a trace of crack on the surface of his exoskeleton, and then this trace was suddenly restored due to biochemical mediation. The power of the stone was restored again. In fact, he didn't feel any pain, but for Jia Yan, every mutation was not more painful than the biochemical mediation stone. For him, he was no longer afraid of this pain. Good thing, this biochemical mediation stone is really good. But 3 is my limit. After all, the evolved beast is already a genetically perfect creature. After 3, I feel that my body has almost reached a real level. Perfect. Jia Yan felt his body. Although the 3rd mediation stone had not yet shown its effect, he was able to estimate the final mediation strength. He greatly lamented the effect of the mediating stone in the biochemical star realm. With his current body, it was estimated that none of the powerful evolutionary beast seniors who lived for hundreds of thousands of years had thought that one day, a substance would appear that would continue to strengthen the body of the evolved beast. Therefore, the current level of physical perfection of Jia Yan completely exceeds that of any previous evolutionary beast seniors. Senior Tianji cannot compare with the previous Domain Lord level seniors. No one knows how far he will reach in the future. Of course, since the future is too far away, he must first solve the immediate crisis. Die. After Jia Yan was blown away by a punch, 4 other pseudo-stars came to his side in an instant, and a strong man using a spear-like weapon stabbed his body. The speeds of the other 3 pseudo-stars are also not slow, and they arrive almost instantly. Can't hide. Subspace. Although the strength of his body was greatly enhanced, Jia Yan's actual combat power was still far from the pseudo-star level. The moment he saw the momentum of the 4 pseudo-star level creatures, he made the decision to avoid the edge for the time being. Buzz. Because of his enhanced body, he entered the subspace without much struggle this time, and the moment he entered the subspace, the giant metal gun arrived. Watch you run away. The giant spear seemed to be able to pierce the sky and directly disrupt the subspace. Under the huge force, the tip of the spear also followed into the subspace. As mentioned before, when approaching the star level, subspace talents no longer have such a powerful combat effect. Even if there is no talent for subspace, strong people can still block subspace to a certain extent by relying on their strength. The several pseudo-stars behind them all used their own attacks to invade subspace almost in no particular order. Buzz. The subspace behind seemed to have collapsed. Jia Yan's body kept escaping quickly in the subspace. Finally, when the opponent's power was almost close to the back of his body, he turned around and avoided the opponent's volley. Quick, quick, quick. We can't let him really complete the third optimization. The 5 pseudo-stars gathered together again. But they discovered that Jia Yan kept coming in and out of the subspace. Apart from trying their best to prevent Jia Yan from approaching the super ship, they actually had no means to kill Jia Yan anymore. This is better than Huangfu, really incredible, so much better. In the super ship, the half-star from the genius battlefield was almost stunned. At first, he was just amazed by this genius, then he felt stunned, then he was shocked, and now he is smiling bitterly. He was almost numb from the powerful feeling of each step. Before, he regarded the other party as a junior, but now. I estimate that if I face this guy, I will be bullied to death by him. He shook his head with a wry smile. He is a semi-stellar venerable after all. It can be seen that Jia Yan now has a feeling of being invincible. I have used the mediation stone from the biochemical star realm once. It was so painful that I was wailing for 10 days. This guy actually used 3 of them in a row. Not only did he transform so quickly, but he also fought while transforming. This is so outrageous that it makes people speechless. He controlled the super ship to wander around the edge of the battlefield, and wanted to go over to meet Jia Yan several times. However, when the super ship approached, a pseudo-stellar strongman would come to block it. He could not directly conflict with the opponent, so he had to wait for a certain moment. To a certain extent, dragging down a pseudo-stellar level helped Jia Yan relieve the pressure. And just after the two sides attacked and defended for a few more minutes. Boom! A sound that shook the world suddenly sounded. As this sound resounded, the pseudo-star with the gun just wanted to stab Jia Yan while roaring, but before that, a front foot was like a starlight fire shooting out of the brilliance. Lan unexpectedly arrived first, and stabbed the pseudo-stellar creature first. The pseudo-star level strong man holding the gun was shocked. The 4 pseudo-star level experts chasing after them also had their expressions condensed. The half-star genius in the super ship had an expression of disbelief. Almost at this moment, the eyes of all the onlookers around him popped out. The long front foot was like a spear that was sharper and more terrifying than the opponent's spear. It avoided the opponent's spear tip and pierced into the chest of the pseudo-star strong man with the gun. Puff! After stabbing the opponent, he used a mouth part, which was also like an arrow shot from bio. It pierced the opponent's skin and sucked it directly. Gurgling gurgling. Jia Yan swallowed the opponent's blood with big mouthfuls. The faint coldness in the mosquito's eyes caused the other 4 pseudo-stars chasing behind to feel chilled almost instantly. How dare you, how dare you! Die! The chill of several pseudo-stars only lasted a moment, but when they got closer, each one became furious, and 4 kinds of attacks crashed towards Jia Yan. In this chaotic attack, the giant mosquito's body suddenly moved. Although it suffered 2 bombings from the front, it did not suffer much damage. After he escaped for a moment, he saw that the entire 1 kilometer-long body of the pseudo-star whose blood he had sucked exploded like a time bomb. He killed Master Mankai. A venerable man actually killed a pseudo-stellar powerhouse. The onlookers seemed to have seen something that was completely contrary to their own concepts of life, and they almost screamed at a loss of words. In that battle, Bai Wangfu had indeed shown terrifying power before, but no matter how powerful he was, everyone subconsciously did not think that he could really kill a pseudo-stellar powerhouse. But now the scene of the venerable killing the pseudo-star class really appeared in front of them, and it suddenly made them feel as if they saw the collapse of their outlook on life, and it was almost unrealistic. What does it mean to die? This is not the first pseudo-star I have killed, and it won't be the last one. Come on, the prelude to death has begun. You 4 can die if you want. Jia Yan's sneer words reached the ears of the 4 pseudo-star powerhouses who were madly chasing him. It was almost as if something terrible had erupted in their ears, causing their bodies to tremble wildly. What did he say? Isn't Mankai the first pseudo-star he killed? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1182. The four pseudo-stars looked at Jia Yan in horror as he swallowed a biochemical mediation stone again, causing his 6 legs to swell and become extremely powerful. They originally thought that Jia Yan had exploded in strength and had to risk his life to kill a pseudo-star among them, but now they heard Jia Yan say in an extremely calm manner that this was not the first time that he had killed a pseudo-star. Level. This is so shocking to say, and judging from the way Jia Yan spoke, he was definitely not telling lies. This, I recognize him. His name is Jia Yan. He is from the Orion Arm, and he killed Lord Baitan of our force before. He actually came to our biochemical star field. As if to verify Jia Yan's words, among the onlookers, a creature from the Fihang force suddenly screamed out as if it was an afterthought. Originally, Jia Yan was easy to recognize, but the Jia Yan who was in front of the powerful Fihang force was wearing a battle armor and was much larger than now. However, because the physical appearance was almost the same, this creature was originally suspicious. Now seeing his azure appearance again, coupled with his terrifying fighting power, he immediately confirmed Jia Yan's true identity. Well, Jia Yan. I know Nobatan is a strong man who has just been promoted to pseudo-star level. I thought that Fihang's power was about to take off, but I don't know why he died again. Could it be that he was killed by Jia Yan? It doesn't work. It turns out that he is from the Orion Arm. How can such a being appear in such a backward star field? The ordinary onlookers around were all extremely surprised. Although the Orion Arm was not strong enough, it was close and occupied a large territory, so every creature in the biochemical star territory knew about it, and they all believed that the next step in the biochemical star territory was the invasion territory is the Orion Arm. But for some senior officials in the biochemical star field, the word Orion Arm immediately shocked them, and then a term came to mind. After carefully observing Jia Yan, finally among the 4 pseudo-star powerhouses, there was one recognized Jia Yan's true identity. Evolved beast? You must be an evolved beast from the Orion Arm. When he roared like this, the other 3 pseudo-stars also reacted. This is the legendary race of the Orion Arm. In its prime, it was an evolved beast that gave even the central regions of the Milky Way a headache. It's really scary, no, it's even scarier than the legend says. Jia Yan was stunned when he heard this. He didn't know that the reputation of the evolved beast clan in Orion's Arm was actually known to even people in the biochemical star field. After all, although the evolved beasts are powerful, the last peak powerhouse, Tianji, was already 200,000 years ago. Whether they know about the evolved beast clan or not, they still want to kill them now. Just as Jia Yan was distracted for a moment, he felt that the great sense of crisis that had been lingering in his heart was getting closer and closer. After being shocked, he quickly launched another attack. Seeing Jia Yan rushing toward him again, the 4 pseudo-stars also came to their senses. It doesn't matter if he belongs to the evolved beast clan or not, kill him anyway. Such a big hazard in the nearby galaxy must be eliminated. The 4 pseudo-stars no longer looked down upon him in the slightest. In fact, they had become high-level officials in the biochemical star field and knew a lot of history, even more than Jia Yan knew. Although Tianji and the previous Orion Arm evolved beast territory masters were all from the past a long time ago, every time a strong evolved beast appeared in the Orion Arm, he was an existence that absolutely crushed the surrounding star fields. Every time the Orion Arm appeared, Arm City dominates the surrounding star field. Seeing Jia Yan's talent, they become even more murderous. Because the biochemical star territory cannot afford the damage of another evolved beast domain lord appearing in the Orion Arm. This time, the 4 pseudo-stars besieged Jia Yan more fiercely than before, and they each used powerful methods. However, due to the need to prevent Jia Yan from escaping to the super ship, one of them could not fully display his strength. Faced with the indiscriminate attack of three pseudo-stellar level experts, even Jia Yan now felt that it was too much. If it weren't for the biochemical mediation stone to help him defend against such terrifying changes, any attack from any one of these three pseudo-stars could easily kill him. No, we still can't defeat them now. It's not realistic to completely kill them. Leave first. Feeling the extremely astonishing aura getting closer and closer, Jia Yan finally made a decision. It seemed that the four pseudo-stars also knew who was coming from behind. At this time, the three pseudo-stars did not seek to completely kill Jia Yan, but blocked his escape direction. And the person who was guarding against the approach of the super ship was the strongest among the pseudo-stellar class. He looked at Jia Yan coldly. Even if Jia Yan killed one of their colleagues, the pseudo-stellar class would not think that Jia Yan was Yan can compare with him. Fight. If you don't run away, the person with the terrifying aura will arrive here. Thinking of the power of the blow that was sealed in the ball that day, Jia Yan's whole body trembled suddenly. He knew that it was impossible for him now to resist the strength of the real person. When he comes, no matter what kind of sensation Jia Yan can cause now, no matter whether he kills a pseudo-star, he will definitely die without a burial place by then. He's trying to escape, seal him up. As long as the adults come, he will be dead. That's right, a venerable person, no matter how defiant he is, can still escape from the hands of a mid-stellar powerhouse. After hearing the conversation between several pseudo-stars, Jia Yan was sure who was coming and suddenly made up his mind. Use 1/5 of the diluted blood essence. Jia Yan made this decision. The power of essence and blood is extremely powerful. He knows that if he uses this trump card, he will be able to escape in duel, but his body will also suffer great damage, but now is not the time to think so much. After all, if he is driven away by that existence, he estimated that even if he used the power of essence and blood, there would be no possibility of escape. Puff. Just when Jia Yan was about to activate the diluted essence and blood, a slight sound sounded like the space was being cut open. Then, in the place where the space was cut, a faint body reached the size of 5 or 6 kilometers. It exuded an emanation that made the entire audience, whether it was Jia Yan or those pseudo-star level creatures, almost unable to move. Pressure. The entire color of the sky and the earth changed, and there seemed to be a touch of golden light in the dark vacuum of the universe, making the entire starry sky turn golden. The surrounding creatures, whether they are onlookers tens of thousands of kilometers apart, or Jia Yan and the four pseudo-stars who are extremely close, at this moment, it is as if they have been immobilized and unable to move at all. What? At this moment, Jia Yan's whole thought seemed to be that his vigilance had reached its peak. Even when he was weak and hunted by a group of pseudo-stars before, he had never felt such a strong sense of life and death crisis. It was like the body itself felt a terrifying and powerful creature that he had never felt before, and he had no ability to resist this creature at all. Too powerful, so powerful that Jia Yan can hardly imagine how terrifying his strength is now. Live, Jia Yan turned his head with difficulty and looked at the terrifying behemoth that suddenly appeared. Sure enough, at the place where the space was cut, the huge figure was the living canal that came from a distance of dozens of light years away. After several days of rushing, the living canal finally arrived. The moment he saw him, Jia Yan felt that the other person's figure in his sight was even more majestic. He was suddenly shocked, and then spat out a mouthful of blood. Jia Yan, we meet again. Huoku seems to have used some means to move. At this time, the body is still not completely condensed, but the sound can already be made. Escape. Jia Yan had no idea of responding at all. At this moment when his life was hanging by a thread, he finally fully activated the power of diluting the essence and blood that had begun to be activated in his body. A terrifying aura erupted into his body, and a power that exceeded the level of a pseudo-star instantly erupted from his body. This power was so terrifying that after it exploded, it directly knocked away the 4 pseudo-star levels surrounding Jia Yan. If Jia Yan was determined, he could kill any one of them with one strike if he chased after them. But he didn't have this time at all. Even if the power of essence and blood erupted, which shocked him, he still felt that there was a huge difference in strength from the living channel he was about to step out of. What? Is this the final trump card of this venerable creature? It can actually explode with star-level strength in an instant. It's terrifying. It's too terrifying. He said he had killed pseudo-stars before. I still don't believe it. Now it seems that it is completely easy to use this trick. A venerable person can actually reach this level. No, it's too late to. It's too late to break out now. In front of Master Huoku, even an ordinary star level is completely useless. His strength is that of a mid-level star powerhouse, and even more so back then. There is no way that Jia Yan, a highly talented person, will not die. Haha, little friend Jia Yan, we finally met in person. Why are we leaving in such a hurry? Please stay here. Huo Chu, who wanted to solidify his body type, blurred his face and spoke hoarse words. Then he raised his claws and pointed them in the direction of Jia Yan, calmly. During the flight, Jia Yan's whole body was shaken, and then a trace of blood with minced internal organs spurted out from his mouth uncontrollably. Speed up. At this moment, he suppressed his injuries and flew towards the super ship faster. Huh? Why, I actually feel that you are still stronger. Huo Chu didn't see the previous battle, but now he felt that Jia Yan was even stronger than when he used the ball to seal the battle, and he was stunned. You must know that he is fully aware of what kind of power Jia Yan exploded, which is the power of the essence and blood of the evolved beast Tianji. He originally thought that the last time he saw it was the full power of Jia Yan after the explosion, but now it seems that this time, after Jia Yan swallowed the essence and blood, the power he unleashed was even stronger than the last time. Haha, Huoku, there are so many things you don't know. Jia Yan laughed, and then his eyes flashed with joy when he saw himself bursting with power and approaching the super ship. Really? You are strong, but if you want to escape from my hands, you are still a little short of it. Huo Chu's slightly smiling voice sounded again, and then, his outstretched claws were once again lifted up from a distance. Aim at Jia Yan and click lightly. Thanks to the book friends who tipped, thank you. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1183. Not good. When Huoku clicked with his claws, Jia Yan felt an unprecedented palpitation in his heart. He understood very well the terror of a midstellar creature, which he could not stop now. But it won't work if we don't block it at this time. Because he couldn't block this blow, he was destined to die. Fight. The ferocious intention emerged in his heart, and then with a movement in his heart, a huge aura that was different from the diluted essence and blood appeared directly. At this time, Jia Yan has no way out. Even if he uses the last fifth of the diluted essence and blood, it is impossible to block Huoku's blow, so the only way he can use is the last one. The complete version of Senior Tianji's essence and blood, exploded for me. Jia Yan's entire compound eyes looked completely crazy. That's right, there is no other way at this time, and there is only one thing that can be called Jia Yan's last and most powerful trump card. It is the complete version of the essence and blood of Senior Tianji. At this time, Jia Yan didn't care whether he could withstand using the full version of blood essence, or what kind of sequelae there would be in the future. If he didn't get rid of Tianji's pursuit at this time, he might have no future. Boom! An extremely terrifying aura erupted from his body. In fact, before knowing that the living channel might appear, Jia Yan had already prepared a drop of the complete version of blood essence. And this drop entered his body instantly, and because they were both evolved beasts, it was directly absorbed by his body. It's just that the absorption was not that comfortable. As the breath rose, Jia Yan felt extremely severe pain, even compared to the mutated pain he had endured before. It was even more severe than the pain. And this kind of pain has a hint of madness, unlike mutation. Although the pain is severe, it can at least make people feel a little bit of life. This explosive pain instantly seemed to burst Jia Yan, putting his whole body on the verge of collapse. Don't explode. Hold on for me. The strength that had always existed in Jia Yanfu's eyes reappeared at this moment, and he barely managed to hold on for a moment. Then he raised his head and looked at the outstretched claws of living canal from a distance. At this time, he could already see that an indescribable force penetrated hundreds of kilometers of space in an instant, came close to his body, and wanted to cover his entire body. After this moment of clarity, Jia Yan raised his front foot, and with great effort, aimed at the flying force, and also lightly tapped out. Oh, I can actually do this, but it's useless. The living figure still hasn't fully appeared. The power of this claw is definitely not his full strength at this time, but it is still not something Jia Yan can resist. Puff! Jia Yan felt his front foot collide with the force coming from the opponent. In an instant, his front foot seemed to have encountered some natural enemy. Even if there was a drop of the essence and blood of Senior Tianji, it was still unable to resist it. If he cannot block it, the incoming force will definitely destroy his general defense, and then make him lose his fighting power and be captured. No. Give it to me and explode again. In Jia Yan's eyes, an extremely unyielding madness flashed, and then in this madness, another drop of essence and blood power suddenly exploded from his body. Boom! He felt that part of his body's internal organs exploded in an instant. It hurts so much. But what was even more uncomfortable was the feeling of expansion that always wanted to explode his body. Jia Yan thought that if he hadn't just swallowed 3 biochemical mediation stones, he might have been consumed by the full version of the blood essence by now. The strength is overwhelming. Only then did Jia Yan realize how lucky he was. If he hadn't used the biochemical mediation stone first and directly used the full version of blood essence, he would definitely be dead now. Of course, the current situation is not that good. With the instant explosion, Jia Yan felt that his life breath dropped instantly. However, he didn't have time to observe his injuries, but a fierce look flashed in his eyes, and he fiercely surged towards the living channel's attack power that shattered a small section of his front foot. The entire starry sky trembled completely at this moment. Puff! Jia Yan spat out a mouthful of blood, and then his body retreated even faster. Stay alive, I will remember this blow. With the power of the critical strikes from both sides, Jia Yan did not die. He flew faster and almost approached the tail of the super ship of the genius battlefield. You can't get on the boat. And just when he was about to enter the passage at the rear of the super ship, the most powerful of the 5 pseudo-stellar experts who were chasing Jia Yan appeared out of nowhere, with a slight injury on his side. He raised his arms and swept his fist towards Jia Yan's path. He didn't want to kill Jia Yan, he just wanted to stop Jia Yan for a moment. When the living channel came completely, the venerable in front of him was not the one who could be squeezed round if they wanted to, or flattened if they wanted to. Court death. At this moment, a murderous intent appeared in Jia Yan's eyes, and then he did not dodge, but faced the 2-kilometer huge body in front of him and directly hit it. You must know that now, he not only has the power of diluting blood essence, but also has 2 drops of the power of Senior Tianji's complete version of blood essence. Although it looks embarrassing, it is more than enough to deal with the living embarrassment. Facing the pseudo-star lord in front of you. Puff. At the next moment, Jia Yan passed by the strongest pseudo-star, but the opponent did not stop Jia Yan from taking a breath. And just after the collision, the strongest man twisted and flew dozens of meters, murmuring continuously. Impossible. Why am I here? Before he finished speaking, his entire body exploded completely, and his flesh and blood became the smallest particle in the universe. Jia Yan didn't even attack him directly, but during the staggered period, he bombarded part of the expansion power in his body into his body. This seemingly powerful pseudo-star level expert didn't even have the slightest resistance. Dead. Oh my god. Another pseudo-stellar level expert dies. The people watching around him were completely numb. At this time, Jia Yan had already used the previous counter-shock force to directly step onto the stern of the supership. Arrive. He only felt dizzy and could hardly stand. As soon as he landed at the end of the supership passage, he hit a wall. Start. Just when Jia Yan had just arrived inside the supership, the semi-stellar genius who controlled the supership suddenly pressed the launch button of the supership. At the same time, the passage Jia Yan had just entered was closed at the speed of light. But at the same time, the living canal figure hundreds of kilometers away also appeared completely solid. This is a terrifying monster that reaches a length of more than 5 kilometers. He has extremely amazing muscles. Looking at his appearance, you can tell that he is definitely not a creature that is easy to mess with. At this time, his whole body was filled with surging aura. It's just that Huo Chu's expression is not good looking. Stop it! He drank fiercely, and then struck at the supership hundreds of kilometers away. The biochemical star domain geniuses in the supership only felt that the entire supership was shaking suddenly like a small boat in the rough waves. It's just that a supership is a supership after all, and it can be said to be one of the great trump cards of the domain lord level forces behind Genius Battlefield. At this moment, under the bombardment of a mid-level star-level powerhouse, it was not completely damaged. Escape. The genius of the semi-star warrior who operates the supership saw his heart beating wildly when he saw the supership erupting into overwhelmed whales. You must know that as the controller of the supership, he fully understands the horror of the supership, but such a supership is still in an unbearable situation under the bombardment of this stellar class, which shows the extent of the opponent's strength. The entire supership was like a giant ship that broke through the waves. The anti-space engine at the tail suddenly turned on. The huge body seemed to jump suddenly, and it instantly got rid of the power of the world controlled by the living channel and started to move. Stop for me. Huoku struck out again. But this time it was even more difficult. The supership's protective cover was opened, and the engine was turned on to maximum power, and the speed suddenly became faster. After another second, the space behind him suddenly changed again, and in the process of distortion, it automatically blocked Huoku's blow. Of course, the supership didn't feel so good either. It suddenly made a sound and Zhaohuan.com one of the engines actually exploded. Fortunately, the supership is worthy of being a supership. With such huge damage, there was no sign of the hull exploding. It was just that the attack power from the rear made it faster. After a few seconds, it actually entered a twisted space similar to subspace. Completely disappeared. Escaped? Jia Yan actually escaped. The pseudo-stellar class that was chasing after them, look at me, I look at you, the 5 people who were good at first became 3 at this time, and the strongest one was killed when all the masters arrived. Dead. They almost felt horrified in their hearts. They had escaped from the astonishingly powerful Venerable. They must have been thinking about him. God knows whether a guy with such a talent will become a star next time and come to take revenge. One by one, the pseudo-stars looked back and saw the 5-kilometer large giant creature, which seemed to be stunned. It just stopped in the universe, looking at the place where the supership left, and did not speak for a long time. In fact, Huo Chu's rage at this moment could almost burn down the entire starry sky. He devised so many strategies, and even asked 5 pseudo-stars to capture Jia Yan, and even rushed there in person. Under such a tight net, Jia Yan actually escaped under his nose. This was already a big deal for him. An unacceptable shame. Of course, shame is one thing. He wants to obtain the other person's body and then carry out his idea, but he can't do it. No. I want to chase. Prepare that ship for me. If you can't catch up now, I will personally enter the genius battlefield. A ruthless look appeared in Huo Chu's eyes and he ordered. Enter the genius battlefield in person? But my lord, the genius battlefield has suppression on the stellar level, and they must. An adjutant, who had just flown out of the command ship where Huo Chu was stunned when he heard the sentence. What are you talking about? I'll tell you to get ready. If you talk too much, be careful of the military law.